What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction. In this one, we have INS Varsha, why India revealed its secret submarine base. Before we dive into the video, if you guys happen to enjoy, please don't forget to subscribe, give a video a thumbs up. Also, if you'd like to support the channel further by becoming a member, all you gotta do is hit that join button to receive your exclusive benefits. Let's dive in.
This is a submarine captured on satellite imagery in August 2020
Oh,
by
wow.
Planet Labs. It's only partially submerged and is at right angles to the coast, suggesting it's about to enter an underground cave carved into the coastline. That was China's secretive Longpo submarine base located on Hainan Island on the edge of the South China Sea. Now, India has revealed it's building its answer to that Chinese base, located instead along the western edge of the Bay of Bengal. Strategically located, this secret base is being specially designed to evade enemy detection and survive a nuclear strike. The base will eventually hold India's 12-plus nuclear submarines.
12?
The INS Aridamam, the third homemade nuclear-powered submarine, is expected later this year. How will INS Varsha become the linchpin to Delhi's strategy of sea denial towards China and the cornerstone to India's second strike capability? Hello and welcome to Taiwan Talks. I'm Yi Kavat. Joining us today are Mumin Chen, National Zhongxing University Graduate Institute of International Politics Professor, and Alexander Huang, Council on Strategic Wargaming Studies Chair, and Guoming Dang, International Affairs Director. A very warm welcome to you both on the show today. The $3.7 billion Rambili naval base in Andhra Pradesh is an underground base scheduled for completion in 2026. It's a massive investment in India's naval posture, driven by mounting tensions with China. The submarine base will feature anti-intrusion nets and underground tunnels, thereby enhancing their stealth and security and evade enemy detection. Professor Chen, let me come to you first. First of all, what is it that makes this base secret?
It is a secret because it was not revealed by the media before. And we know that India in recent years tried to catch up with China, and China has already shown its ambition in the Indian Ocean. And India already also trying to modernize its military, particularly in the Navy. Yeah.
Alex, why is it that the movements of the submarines can be secretive? The submarines can submerge, can remain submerged whilst entering and exiting. Does this help shield those submarines from satellite or aerial photography?
Of course, because submarine itself is probably the world's first stealthy weapon platforms. So if a submarine could submerge without service, getting into home base, and that's perfect stealth and perfect protection for that submarine.
So, Professor Chen, you
I
mentioned...
would be like, it's courage to be able to submerge to the point where, you can't be caught on satellite. They don't know where your base is because it's underwater. You submerge to get into your base. So you got to keep them guessing, keep them wondering. And India, I think whatever China does military-wise, India is definitely going to respond. At the moment, of course, they don't have the budget that China has, nor the resources, military resources. And so at the moment, they don't have it all. But India's coming up very quickly. Their military defense spending has risen very quickly over the last 5 to 10 years. India, and I think they're going to be able to continue to spend more and more on defense over each year, and especially as they get into exporting more and more weapons. India's one to watch out for. They're not going to be bullied by China, I'll tell you that.
A little bit earlier, in terms of India's transparency, this was a classified project, Project Varsha. It's been declassified now. What other strategic advantages do you think that announcing this base would bring to India?
Yeah, I would say that if you look at what China has been doing in the Indian Ocean in recent years, they already control the Gwadar port in Pakistan, which is on the west side of India. And they also control Hanban-Tota port, even they don't announce it will become a naval base yet. But I think there's a possibility that eventually it will become, will have some kind of military purpose in that place. Yeah, and also China also try to enhance its cooperation with Bangladesh. So from Indian perspective, India has been strategically encircled by China, China's military, and particularly in Navy. So information or news report like this, I think is to show that the India government is responsible and also is responding to this upcoming crisis or threat from China. They have to respond. I think it's natural.
And Alex, do you think that the announcement deliberately sent China a message?
Of course, by revealing this fact that the port is about to be completed and they're to host a nuclear submarine, it's a political signal to the neighbors, especially to Beijing, that the Indian Ocean belongs to India, or at least to all the neighbors. Yeah. That India is the largest power in that part of the world. I think political messaging is the main signal right now. But still, for other military or strategic implications, that we will continue to see how it develops and what future activities and operations or exercises will take place.
And I think you're perhaps thinking of the Quad, the four nations, Australia, US, and Japan as well. But how about nuclear deterrence, Alex? Do you think that this is about credible deterrence?
Well, credible deterrence depends on how the related country perceived, and whether they have the power to react.
Yeah, because communication obviously is a key pillar of deterrence, as well as credibility, as you mentioned, and capability.
Yeah, and also the range of the missiles that they carry.
I feel that.
That's the operating, area. We call AOR, area of responsibility. I believe that so far, to my understanding, that the Indian submarine fleet will mainly to defend and protect the continent rather than project power against other countries.
And Professor,
and that sounds like very Indian-like, to protect the continent rather than to project power. And that's one of the reasons I wouldn't be afraid for India to be the #1 superpower in the world, because I feel like they reach out and help so many countries. They're not about flexing power, projecting power. They're about, India first, but also let's cooperate with the rest of the world to make life on planet Earth better for everybody. And that's what I love about it. But we know China's ambitious in the Indian Sea. We know China's definitely wants to be the #1 power in the world, for sure. They're very ambitious. But India's like, y'all might have more money than us, y'all might have more resources than us at the moment, but we ain't gonna back down to y'all. we will not back down. And I feel like any weaponry that you gain is definitely a deterrent. If you ask me, it makes it more of a nuclear deterrent.
So Chen, can we draw anything from the fact that for India, they've been very clear, they operate on a no first use. They have a second strike capability. Now this happens to be the same as what China says it has. It also claims no first use nuclear policy. But as in the example of East Yulin Base or Longpo submarine base, that was kept secret. India is taking a different approach. What conclusions can we draw from this?
No, I think that when we see this development, it means that India's nuclear strategy or military strategy is changing in the past a few years. Because when India had detonated a nuclear bomb in 1998, I think that at the first 10, 15 years, India just want to maintain a minimal deterrence, because its main rival, its main enemy was Pakistan. And now we see the development that China is rising, and China also come to the Indian Ocean. I think that India know that they have to, reorganize, also has to redesign their strategy. So right now, I think that India as a rising economic power, it also has to have a new military or strategic doctrine. And so all this development, I think, is just to respond to this India's ambition as a global class power. Yeah.
Okay. Alex, let's talk about the strategic location. This is very close to the choke point of Malacca Strait. Why is this important for both India and China?
I think the reason why to build a naval base for nuclear submarines in such a pattern and format had many reasons, and most of the reasons have been stated by Professor Chen. Talking about controlling the choke point, I think this is something that I would like to debate with my colleagues in defense and security affairs. Why? Because the new Indian naval base is about 1,080 nautical miles away from the Strait of Malacca, or equivalent of 2,000 kilometers. That's not that short, So even with an emergency dispatch, it takes and submerged crews, it takes some time to get to that point. I think the mission is not only targeting at the Strait of Malacca, but also the area that if the Western Coast Indian Navy could not perform their duty to stop or interdict the certain strategic assets sailing from the Middle East to China, I think the new naval base provide India with a second opportunity to do that. I want to come back to talk about...
So it is about controlling trade or allowing the free flow of trade?
To work with other friendly allied countries to perform the necessary collective deterrence against a common adversary.
I told y'all, they definitely willing to cooperate with other countries, and I think that's huge. But yeah, so I mean, that base is a distance away, 2,000 kilometers. Yeah, it's definitely gonna take some time. Even if you got everybody out quick, emergency, it's gonna take a little bit of time to respond. But again, I just think India is not going to allow China to kind of own like the Indian Sea, is not going to allow their ambitions to walk all over India. Right now, I think China and India, right, they got a ceasefire in place right now, coming to the table, talking to each other. So in the future, you might see more of a partnership between China and India. You might see them become closer in the future, which would be huge in the world, right? They have so much of the world's population between the two countries. But I guess but for now, India, like, as much deterrence in place as we can for the moment, and I just think they're going to continue to have more and more, and eventually they're going to end up catching up to China. I know China's population is aging out right now, right? While India's got way more young people. So
the non-first use...
That being China?
Yeah, if you like to say so. Everybody knows that. And basically, because of the numbers of warheads will basically determine whether your nuclear doctrine is. Because it's similar to China. When your nuclear warheads are in low numbers, you can only do the second strike or non-first use. And that's why when your warheads increases, and in recent years, a lot of Western scholars and specialists are thinking that whether China will change its long-standing nuclear doctrine from non-first use to preemptive strike, then that's another story.
Okay. Now, INS Varsha wouldn't be just a base, but a pillar of India's nuclear deterrence. Located just 16 kilometers from Achutapuram Babra Atomic Research Center, which gives this nuclear submarine base a huge operational advantage in terms of nuclear infrastructure, maintenance and logistics. India currently has 2 domestically made nuclear-powered attack submarines, or SSBN, the INS Arihant and INS Arigat. Both are equipped with ballistic missiles with a range of 3,500 kilometers, meaning they can hit deep within China from the Bay of Bengal. A third, the INS Aridaman, which can carry many more missiles, is set to be commissioned this year. Future, more powerful nuclear-powered and nuclear-armed subs are set to join the Indian naval fleet into the 2030s. Professor Chen, let me ask you, so other than both of these nations, India and China, but also Pakistan, through its alliance with China, are nuclear armed. What threats is India actually expecting that it needs to build up this nuclear deterrence?
No, I think that the whole Indian Ocean is a focus because before 2010, nobody talked much about the Indian Ocean, including India itself. India did not have its naval doctrine until 2005. In 2010-11, they further, released more reports on the Indian Ocean security. The reason is simple, because China entered Indian Ocean in 2009. Yeah, so after that, I think that the whole strategic environment of the Indian Ocean already changed. And in the past, India, they spend the most military spending on army because its main threat is from the north, from its neighboring Pakistan. They also had a war with China in 1962. But right now, I think, as I said earlier, that India's strategic thinking right now, they think that it's not only from the north or from army. They also have to think of the Indian Ocean. And this strategical encirclement by China, not just the Chinese fleets sailing in this region. China also helped Pakistan build its navy. China also gave submarines to Bangladesh. And Chinese naval ships also sail to Sri Lanka. So I think it's natural for India to expand its entire naval capacity and also to reshape its military doctrine in the region.
And what do you think is China's goal?
I feel that. And they said nobody really will worry about the Indian Ocean. Everybody was cool. Then China jumped in the Indian Ocean. And then India was like, hey, we can't let China just come in and take over. Just because they come in and take over, they'll be able to control things in that part of the world. You may be able to cut off certain supply routes, certain things for China to take over the world in a sense. And so India was like, hey, we can't have that. When we thought the Indian Ocean we stayed out because we thought nobody really wasn't worried about the Indian Ocean. Our threats was coming from the land. But now we got to watch out for y'all to make sure y'all ain't trying to do nothing sneaky out here.
In doing all of this? What's behind it?
No, I think China it's very clear that China want to not just be a local navy power. They already in the Pacific Ocean. They already go out of the first island chain and will reach the second island chain. But for China, because its energy and its economy also rely on the supply chain from the Indian Ocean. So to some extent, China has to control the Indian Ocean. It's very natural for a great power, or ambitious power like China to do. Yeah, so I think it's natural for China to do that, and India has to respond.
Yeah, I mean, just to quote some figures, so in 2024, 60% of China's trade came through the Malacca Strait, and 80% of China's crude oil in 2024, so highly significant. Alex, you spoke about, you touched on that you thought India's role would be limited to the IOR, the Indian Ocean region. If it came to a possible Taiwan crisis, would the US be asking more of India?
Well, I think from New Delhi's perspective, they have moved already from look east to act east. which means that they give more emphasis from the eastern part of India and Indian Ocean. I think it's a network of shared responsibility and function and control of choke points.
So see, almost like a jigsaw,
Right.
different jigsaw pieces.
The
across
choke point
globe.
is not only the Strait of Malacca,
Yeah.
including the Panama Canal and Suez. So this is a grand strategy to see that if there is a military conflict that related to China, that how much China will rely on the maritime traffic and shipping to sustain its economy and sailing through those choke points. So I think I would not say that Indian Navy will send their ships to the South China Sea and fight. I would say that if they play their role right, they can make sure that any ship, any Chinese ship that's sailing through the southern part of Indian Ocean and facing the both sand, the Western Navy forces, and now the Eastern Navy forces. It could connect it with the Allied, naval power operating in that area, and form a network of deterrence that can easily interdict, the Chinese shipping.
Right. Okay. So in terms of a possible blockade on China. Yeah. According to Reuters, India plans to offer cheaper loans to countries that want to purchase its arms, including missiles, helicopters and battleships. 100 countries around the world currently do so. It's also sending more defence attaches abroad to help sell the arms. However, according to data from India's Ministry of Defence, India defence exports have already more than tripled over the past 5 years. These developments suggest a challenge to Russia's long-standing arms dominance following Moscow's invasion.
I've seen the rest of this video in a different, seen the rest of it in a different video that I've already reacted to. It was called India Rises Global Arms Supplier. So if you want to see the rest of this video, I've already reacted to it. It's in another, so just go search it through the videos. But I just think, to be honest, India is doing a great thing in making sure it's kind of playing chess in a sense. When China makes a move, India kind of reacts or makes another move so that China never is able to take complete control over the Indian Ocean and take control over those choke points, because those choke points are gigantically important. And in the allies that India has, although they might not have the money that China has, the weaponry, the resources, they do have allies. And those allies that India has also will kick in and make sure China don't get control of them choke points. Tell me what y'all think in the comment section. If you guys enjoyed, please don't forget to subscribe, get a video a thumbs up, check out the next. I'll see y'all next time.